At 150 miles per hour, your steering wheel suddenly goes completely limp. You aren't losing grip on the asphalt. The front of your car is literally flying. In 1963, Carroll Shelby's drivers were facing a terrifying reality. Their cars were too fast for their own design. The brutal open-top Cobras were dominant on tight American tracks, but on Europe's massive, high-speed straightaways, they hit an invisible wall of wind that turned them into lethal, unstable kites. Ferrari was openly mocking them, their drivers were terrified of dying, and the team had zero budget for a wind tunnel. To survive, they had to trust a 26-year-old kid armed with nothing but a roll of duct tape and a ball of cheap yarn. This is the story of how a shoestring American garage team built the legendary Shelby Cobra Daytona Coupe and completely broke Ferrari's stranglehold on international racing. To understand how desperate Shelby's team was, you have to look at the math. The open-top Shelby Cobra Roadster had a massive Ford V8 engine with plenty of horsepower, but its shape was a disaster for airflow. At high speeds, the wind rushed into the open cockpit and trapped itself against the rear fenders, creating a massive parachute effect. Even worse, air got trapped under the car, creating dangerous front-end lift that made steering almost impossible at top speed. Shelby knew that if he wanted to win the World Sports Car Championship, he needed a completely new body design. Enter Pete Brock. He was a 26-year-old designer working for Shelby, and he was the only one who believed the Cobra chassis could be saved. Brock didn't have a multi-million-dollar corporate budget, and he didn't have access to a high-tech wind tunnel. Instead, he went to a library and dug up obscure, forgotten German aerodynamic research papers from the 1930s. Based on those old text files, Brock sketched out a radical new coupe body. It featured a long, sloping nose, a fully enclosed cockpit, and a completely flat, chopped-off rear end, known as a camback tail. When Brock showed the design to Shelby's veteran fabricators and drivers, they thought he had completely lost his mind. The car looked incredibly bizarre, almost ugly compared to the elegant Italian racers. Ken Miles, Shelby's legendary test driver, took one look at it and warned that the design was unstable and would likely kill whoever tried to drive it. But Carroll Shelby was out of options and out of time, so he gave Pete Brock the green light to build a single prototype. Because they had no way to scientifically measure airflow in a lab, Brock and his team had to get creative. They hand-shaped the aluminum body panels, taped hundreds of small pieces of yarn all over the car, and took it out to a desert runway. Brock hopped into the back of a station wagon, drove alongside the prototype at high speed, and filmed how the pieces of yarn flattened against the body to see exactly where the air was flowing. If the yarn danced around wildly, it meant the air was turbulent. If it laid perfectly flat, the aerodynamics were working. After a few adjustments with scissors and duct tape, it was time for the ultimate test at Riverside Raceway with Ken Miles behind the wheel. The team watched anxiously as Miles fired up the V8 and tore down the straightaway. Everyone expected the car to hit the same old 157-mile-per-hour wall. But the car just kept accelerating. It blew past 160, soared past 170, and topped out at an effortless, rock-solid 186 miles per hour on its very first run. Not only was it nearly 30 miles per hour faster than the Roadster, but Ken Miles pulled into the pits, climbed out of the car, and told Shelby it was the most stable, beautifully handling machine he had ever driven. Shelby went on to build just 6 of these Daytona Coupes. In 1964 and 1965, they went to Europe and absolutely weaponized Pete Brock's aerodynamic design. At the legendary Le Mans 24-hour race, the Daytona Coupes hit speeds of 190 miles per hour on the Mulsanne Straight, completely leaving Ferrari in the dust and winning their class. By the end of the 1965 season, Shelby became the first and only American vehicle manufacturer to win the International Championship for GT cars, forcing Enzo Ferrari to finally respect American engineering. It is a stunning reminder of what happens when raw, unconventional thinking goes up against old-school corporate arrogance. If you had to race down a 3-mile straightaway at nearly 200 miles per hour, would you trust Enzo Ferrari's legendary V8 engines, or Pete Brock's backyard aerodynamic design made out of yarn and tape? Let me know your pick in the comments, and follow for more unbelievable automotive history.